I didn't understand Toyota the first time I worked inside a factory that tried to do lean, because from the outside, Toyota looks boring, almost allergic to drama. And in a world addicted to disruption stories, boredom gets mistaken for lack of ambition. That misunderstanding is exactly why Toyota became one of the most powerful industrial organizations in history. Because Toyota never tried to look smart, it tried to remove stupidity. And those two goals are not the same thing. Toyota's real revolution was not cars, not robots, not efficiency charts on PowerPoint slides. It was the quiet decision to build a system that assumes humans will make mistakes and then designs reality, so those mistakes don't become disasters. Toyota was born in scarcity, and scarcity is an unforgiving teacher. Post-war Japan didn't have capital scale or margin for waste. Kiichiro Toyota and later Taiichi Ohno weren't trying to invent a philosophy, they were trying to survive against American manufacturers that could outspend and outproduce them without blinking. Mass production, as Detroit practiced it, was impossible to copy. So Toyota didn't copy it. It questioned it. Why build huge batches if demand is uncertain? Why stockpile inventory if it hides problems? Why treat workers like replaceable parts if their judgment is the only thing standing between quality and catastrophe? These were not academic questions. They were existential ones. What emerged from that pressure was what the world later labeled lean, though Toyota never loved the term. Lean sounds like reduction. Toyota was after clarity. Just-in-time wasn't about speed. It was about exposing problems the moment they appeared. Inventory wasn't an asset. It was a lie that delayed pain. By reducing buffers, Toyota forced itself to feel problems immediately when they were still small enough to fix. Most companies do the opposite. They pad systems so issues can be ignored. Toyota designed systems that refuse to let you look away. The Andon cord is the purest expression of this mindset. Any worker, regardless of rank, can stop the entire production line if something feels wrong. To a traditional executive, this sounds insane. To a survivor, it's obvious. Quality problems don't get cheaper with time. They metastasize. Toyota chose to pay the price early, loudly, and visibly. That choice required something most organizations lack trust in frontline intelligence. Toyota didn't just allow workers to think, it required it. This is where most attempts to copy Toyota fail. Companies import the tools, but reject the beliefs. They want Kanban boards without accountability, continuous improvement, without discomfort, empowerment, without giving up control. Toyota understood that efficiency without respect becomes fragility. The Toyota production system is not a cost-cutting program. It is a moral stance. Respect for people is not a slogan. It is operationalized through training stability and the expectation that everyone contributes to improvement. Not just management. Kaizen continuous improvement is often romanticized as small tweaks adding up to greatness. The reality is harsher. Kaizen means you are never done. It means yesterday's success is today's baseline. It means no one gets to hide behind past wins. That mindset is exhausting, which is why it works. Toyota didn't look for heroes. It built habits. And habits scale better than brilliance. Over decades, this system compounded quietly. While competitors chased volume and incentives, Toyota chased consistency. While others optimized quarterly numbers, Toyota optimized learning speed. That difference is invisible until a crisis hits. When recalls, supply shocks, or market shifts arrive, brittle systems snap. Adaptive systems bend. Toyota bent more often than it broke, not because it was perfect, but because it was honest about where perfection was impossible. But this story is not propaganda. Toyota stumbled, Rapid expansion strained the system. Quality slipped. The world noticed. And this is where Toyota's real character showed itself, because instead of denying the problem or blaming individuals, it did what its system demanded. It stopped, reflected, and corrected. The same discipline that built the powerhouse was turned inward. That is rare. Most systems only point outward. Toyota's lean manufacturing dominance was never about speed for its own sake. It was about building a learning organism that could outlast trends, technologies, and leadership changes. That organism is slow to change direction, but relentless once it commits. And this is where the story deepens, because as the world shifts toward electrification software and uncertainty, the question is no longer whether lean manufacturing works, but whether a philosophy born on factory floors can survive in a future where value is less visible and mistakes travel faster than ever. And the sentence continues into the next phase, where lean thinking faces its hardest test, yet where lean thinking stopped being a factory advantage and became a survival philosophy. Because as Toyota moved into an era defined by electrification software and global instability, the familiar rhythms of manufacturing were no longer enough. The problems arrived faster, spread wider, and were harder to see. Yet the core question Toyota had always asked remained the same. How do we design systems that learn before they fail catastrophically? This is where many critics misunderstood Toyota's apparent caution in jumping headfirst into trends. Hesitation was framed as slowness. In reality, it was discipline. Toyota did not reject electrification or new technology. It rejected shallow adoption. Battery chemistry, supply chain, resilience, safety, and life cycle impact were treated with the same seriousness as any physical component had been in the past. Lean thinking translated upward. Don't commit fully until you can see the whole system, because partial visibility creates expensive regret. The challenge with software-driven products is that problems hide longer. Code doesn't crack audibly like metal. Bugs can sleep until scale wakes them violently. Toyota responded not by pretending software was different, but by applying the same respect for people principle to engineers. Peer review standardized work, visual management stop-the-line thinking, all adapted for digital environments. Lean was no longer about wrenches and conveyors. It was about feedback loops. Crises tested this adaptation. Natural disasters, supply shortages, global recalls. Each time Toyota's response followed the same pattern: slow down to speed up. Pause production if needed. Share information widely. Reflect before reacting. This frustrates observers who expect instant pivots. But Toyota optimizes for stability under stress, not optics. When you build for endurance, you accept that calm decisions outperform heroic reactions over time. What Toyota ultimately demonstrates is that lean manufacturing was never about manufacturing alone. It was about humility. The humility to assume your system is flawed. The humility to listen downward. The humility to improve incrementally instead of gambling on grand gestures. In a world obsessed with disruption, humility looks weak. In practice, it compounds into resilience. For builders outside factories, the lesson is uncomfortably transferable. Remove buffers that hide problems. Treat inventory, whether code features or bureaucracies, as a form of denial. Empower the people closest to the work to stop bad outcomes early. And understand that efficiency without respect is just speed toward failure. Toyota's power comes not from having fewer people or tighter margins, but from having a learning culture strong enough to absorb reality without breaking. Toyota's lean system will not win every race for attention. It will not always be first. But it will still be standing when flashier strategies exhaust themselves. That is its quiet advantage. Lean is not about doing more with less. It is about learning more from less over and over again until the organization itself becomes anti-fragile. And if this exploration of Toyota's lean manufacturing powerhouse changed how you think about efficiency leadership or long-term advantage, stay with this channel. Subscribe, because this is where we examine the systems that survive hype cycles. And leave a comment sharing where you've seen lean misunderstood or misused, because the gap between copying tools and understanding principles is where most failures quietly begin.